up, Guiding Bolt Gaming fans? I'm Jessica, and today we're going to take a closer look at the actions available to you during combat. If you'll remember from our combat overview video, on your turn you can move up to your movement speed, take one action, take one bonus action if granted one by a feature, interact with one simple object during your move or main action, and take one reaction anytime from the start of one turn to the beginning of your next turn. For today's video, we're going to focus in on that one main action and look at the opportunities available to us. Up first is attacking, which is probably the most common action taken within combat. The attack action allows you to make one melee or ranged attack. There are certain features, like the fighter's extra attack feature, that allows you to make more than one attack with this single action. For today's video, we won't get into the specific details around making an attack, but there are a couple special attack actions I want to point out. The first is shoving. This is a special melee attack that falls under the attack action. If you're able to make multiple attacks with the attack action, shove can be used as one of those attacks. To shove your target, it must be no more than one size larger than you, and it must be within your reach. Make an athletics check contested by the target's athletics or acrobatics check chosen by the target. On success, you can choose to either knock the target prone or push it 5 feet away from you. Next is shove aside. This shove aside attack works just like shove, except that the attacker has disadvantage on its athletics check, and when successful, it moves the target 5 feet to a different space within its reach, rather than 5 feet straight in front of them. Finally, there's grappling. Grappling is a special melee attack that also falls under the attack action. Again, if you're able to make multiple attacks with the attack action, grapple can be used for one of them. To grapple, your target must be no more than one size larger than you, and it must be within your reach. You must have at least one free hand and make a grapple check by contesting your athletics check against the target's athletics or acrobatics check, again chosen by the target. If you succeed, the target is grappled. You can release the target when you like, no action required. A grappled creature can use its action to escape by succeeding on an athletics or acrobatics check contested by the athletics check of the creature that did the grappling. The next combat action that's nearly just as common as attacking is to cast a spell. All spells have a casting time, which specify if the caster must use an action, reaction, minutes, or even hours to cast a spell. Many spells have a casting time of one action. These specific spells can be used during combat. As there are a lot of moving pieces to spell casting, we'll also save this topic for another in-depth video. Disarm is an action that many players tend to forget about. If you use the disarm action, you can use a weapon to knock a weapon or another item from the target's grasp. You make an attack roll contested by the target's athletics or acrobatics check. If you win, you successfully cause the target to drop the item. No damage is dealt. If you have disadvantage, you do have disadvantage on the attack roll if your target is holding the item with 2 or more hands. The target has advantage on their ability check if they are larger than you, or a disadvantage if they're smaller than you. The next action is a good one to keep in your back pocket. Sometimes hacking and slashing is going to result in you getting pummeled right back. In that case, you may want to dodge. Dodging means you focus entirely on avoiding attacks. Until the start of your next turn, any attack roll made against you has disadvantage if you can see the attacker, and you make dexterity saving throws with advantage. This benefit is lost if you become incapacitated or your speed drops to 0. Another good defensive move is to disengage. If you disengage, your movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks for the rest of the turn due to focusing on your surroundings. Need to get away in a hurry? Try dashing. Using dash as your action gains you extra movement for your turn. The increase in movement is equal to your speed after applying modifiers. For example, if your current speed is 30, then you would be allowed to move up to 30 feet with your turn's move. Using the dash action would allow you to move an additional 30 feet for a total of 60. Remember that dashing grants you additional movement that's equal to your speed. It doesn't multiply it. So if you dash as your main action, then a special ability allows you to dash as a bonus action, you can move a total of 90 feet. 30 for your normal movement, 30 for your dash action, and a final 30 for your dash as a bonus action. Ever wanted to attack a creature in style or try to ride on something like a dragon? You can also use your action to climb onto a suitably large opponent. After making any ability checks necessary to get into position and onto the larger creature, the climber makes an athletics or acrobatics check against the target's acrobatic check. If the climber wins, then they successfully move in the target space and cling to its body. While in the target space, the climber moves with the target and has advantage on attack rolls. Once on the creature, you can move around their body space and treat it as difficult terrain. The larger creature's ability to attack the climber depends on the climber's location. The larger creature can use their action to dislodge the smaller creature by knocking it off, scraping it against a wall, or throwing it, for example. The larger creature makes an athletics check against the climber's athletics or acrobatics check chosen by the smaller creature. Next, we have Overrun. The Overrun action occurs when a creature tries to move through a hostile creature's space by forcing their way through. The mover makes an athletics check contested by the hostile creature's athletics check. The mover has advantage on the check if they are larger than the hostile creature, or disadvantage if they're smaller. If the mover wins the contest, then they can move through the hostile creature space once this turn. The Tumble action is similar to Overrun. Tumble is used to move through a hostile creature's space by ducking and weaving past them. The tumbler makes an acrobatics check contested by the hostile creature's acrobatics check. If the tumbler wins, they can move through the hostile creature space once this turn. The next combat action is probably one of the more convoluted combat actions to keep track of. Because of this, many DMs choose to exclude it from their game, so be sure to check with yours. When you make a melee attack, you can choose to mark your target. Until the end of your next turn, any attacks of opportunity made against the marked target are at an advantage. The opportunity attack against the marked target does not use a reaction, but you can only take one opportunity attack per turn. Let me explain with an example. I'm on combat with a green goblin, a brown goblin, and an ogre. I make a melee attack against the green goblin and choose to mark it. On the goblin's turn, the green goblin moves away from me. I can make an opportunity attack against it. During that same goblin turn, the brown goblin hits me with his sword. Because my attack of opportunity was on the green goblin who I marked, I did not use my reaction, meaning I still have my single reaction available and can cast shield to protect myself against the brown goblin's attack. Instead of attacking, the brown goblin has decided to move away. I could not have made an opportunity attack on him because it's still the same turn and I'm limited to a single attack of opportunity per turn. Here's another example. Let's say I again attack, mark, and then make an attack of opportunity against the green goblin. My party's cleric then takes his turn, then the ogre decides to move away on his turn. I still have my single reaction available, and it's a different turn from the goblins, so I could choose to take an attack of opportunity on the ogre. The next combat action, Help, is a great one to take if your character is having a tough time hitting the enemy or can't overcome its resistances with your weapons or spells. Taking the Help action means you lend aid to another creature in the completion of their task. The creature you help gains advantage on the next ability check they make to perform the task you're aiding them with, provided the check occurs before the start of your next turn. Alternatively, you can aid a friendly creature in attacking a creature that's within 5 feet of you. You help them by distracting the target or teaming up to make your allies' attack more effective. If they attack the target before your next turn, their first attack roll is made with advantage. If you don't want to help an ally, then perhaps you want to hide. When taking the hide action, you make a stealth check in an attempt to hide. You cannot hide from a creature that can see you clearly, and the DM will decide when circumstances are appropriate for hiding. An invisible creature can always try to hide, but signs of its passage like footprints or any noise it makes can give away its position. Once hidden, there's a chance someone will notice you. The DM will compare your stealth check versus the other creature's passive perception to determine if they do or not. In combat, most creatures stay alert for signs of danger all around, so if you come out of hiding and approach a creature, it usually sees you. However, the DM may allow you to sneak up under certain circumstances when a creature is distracted that you're sneaking up on, giving you advantage on an attack roll before you are seen. When hidden, attacks against you are at disadvantage because you are not visible to the attacker. If you are not in the location that they target for their attack, then the attack automatically misses. If you attack when you're hidden, you give away your location when your attack hits or misses. Has a member of your party gone down in combat? Use your action to administer first aid to an unconscious creature that's in death saving throws. If you succeed on a DC 10 medicine check, then you stabilize the target, meaning they're still at 0 HP, but no longer need to make death saving throws. Another action option is search. When you use the search action, you devote your attention to finding something. Your DM may require you to make a perception or investigation check. As we've discussed before, on your turn you're able to interact with one object during your action or move for free, like drawing a sword or opening a door. If you want to interact with more than one object, or want to interact with an object that requires special care or presents an unusual obstacle, like picking a lock, then you would use the Use an Object action. Additionally, there are a number of items mentioned in the player's handbook that specifically state that they use an action. Examples include spilling a pouch of caltrops or ball bearings on the floor, setting a hunting trap, or throwing a vial of acid or flask of alchemist fire as an improvised weapon. In the same vein, some magic items require an action to activate, which isn't a function of the Use an Object action. According to the rules as written, drinking or administering a health potion technically falls under this type of action, although I do know many DMs that homebrew rules to allow players to drink potions as a bonus action or for free. If you wish to do something not covered by one of these actions, such as intimidating the enemy or having your cleric make an offering to the forest spirits to calm their rage, you're free to do so. In fact, you're really only limited by your imagination. Describe the action you wish to do, and your DM will tell you if that action is possible and will let you know if any rules are needed to determine success or failure. Finally, you can ready an action. When you take the ready action, you are essentially saving your action to use later as a reaction. You specify a situation that will trigger your reaction and what you plan to do in response. That response can be an action like all the options we've covered, or you can choose to move up to your speed. For example, if the goblin steps on the trap door, I want to pull the lever that opens it. Or, if the ogre steps next to me, I want to move away towards the north wall. When the trigger occurs, you can choose to take your reaction right after the trigger finishes, or you can choose to ignore it. Remember that a readied action counts as your reaction, and you can only take one reaction from the beginning of your turn until the start of the next. If you choose to ready a spell, you cast that spell as normal on your turn, meaning you expend a spell slot, but you hold the energy of the spell until you release it with your reaction after the trigger. Holding onto the spell's magic like this requires concentration, even if the spell doesn't normally require concentration for casting. And there we have it! More than 20 different main actions that both players and monsters can take during combat. If you yourself or your players are stuck in a pattern of only slinging spells or bashing with weapons, be sure to share this video with them to teach or remind them of all the flavorful options available to make combat more exciting and even tactical. Outside of spellcasting and making a ranged or melee attack, what's your favorite move within combat? Did you learn about a new option today that you're going to try in your next campaign session? Let me know down below in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. We do put out new videos every Saturday. So until next time guys, happy combating!